Welcome to the Ricky Matthews Show from the Citizens Bank studio. We appreciate you joining us and hope you're having a wonderful holiday season. It's a beautiful time in coastal Mississippi. I love posting pictures of the sunrises and sunsets in Biloxi's Bay. I love to get up before the sun wakes up in the morning and then look out and watch the beautiful sunsets. Now, usually I go outside and have a cup of coffee. It's a little cool these days. To be at least obviously there are days that are warmer than others, but when it's cool, I'd rather have my coffee inside. But my goodness, the sunsets and sunrises in coastal Mississippi are as good as they get. Now we're pre-recording this show because we're going to be coming to my friend Capt Sonny Schindler from Shore Things Charters here in just a second. But what he does is he lets us know when he's going to be available, and so we're going to be taping a show with him. And this will probably air a couple of times during the holidays, so you can have a great appreciation for why this time of year is a wonderful time to fish in coastal Mississippi. And it's also an important time of the year. You should be careful. But before we go any further, I want to invite my friend Kyle Curley, the producer of the Ricky Matthews Show, into the conversation. And first of all, just say good morning. How you doing, Kyle?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. I'm doing better. I'm in day 6 of COVID. And it certainly didn't hit me like last time, but it was still a little bit of a challenge. But I'm feeling great. I don't sound like I'm totally back yet, but I feel fantastic. Other than no taste and no smell, just like last time. I just hope it comes back sooner than later because I love to eat, don't you?
Yeah, and I don't even recall the last when I had COVID that I can't find that defining moment where taste actually come back.
Yeah,
I mean, I have taste, but I can't speak to a particular day. It was one of those gradual things that happened over time, I suppose. Yeah. I think that I really don't. I don't have.
Hey, that's actually a really good point. I mean, I didn't have taste and smell for a while, and then what would happen is certain things I could say, oh yeah, I got a little flavor of that. Other things, no flavor whatsoever. But it was gradual. It wasn't like you flipped a switch and it suddenly came back again. But I hope mine is a switch and we can get it back sooner than later.
Yeah, the only thing I remember when I had COVID was I didn't like to drink coffee in the morning for whatever reason. I know I couldn't taste it. It just didn't seem right. It's almost like it didn't feel right. And it was the weirdest thing. So I just didn't drink coffee for like 2 weeks.
So what Ann did? She put a big pot in the slow cooker and of chicken vegetable soup, just a big pot. That's what I've eaten off of for lunch and dinner, the whole time that I had COVID. And I got on the scale yesterday and I lost almost 6 pounds. And I mean, I'm not looking to lose weight, and I haven't had anything to really necessarily cause me to lose weight. It's just that I haven't had a taste buds for stuff. So I've just eaten out of just, getting nutrition. And so I lucked out that Ann made the perfect meal for me to have during my, being sick. But, I can still understand why if someone had pre-existing problems, how it could be a real challenge for them to have COVID. So it's something people really need to pay attention to.
Yeah, the thing with, I never lost anything when I had COVID. I mean, I still ate, but I didn't eat, if that makes any sense. The antibiotic makes you eat something. So you always had some kind of food in your stomach, and whether it was a soup or whatever it was. But I'm kind of like you, though. The soups were good. Anything soft was good for, just lack of better presentation. I think it was just easier to eat some type of soup or whatever. But yeah, it didn't matter what kind of soup it was. You couldn't taste it. So at that point, it was all good.
Hey, the big difference is last time I had dipping oxygen levels. So it would get to 90, maybe the 89. Doctors didn't like that. They said, we're going to have to do something. This time, not at all. I didn't have any issues with that whatsoever. In fact, yesterday I went out and did my typical interval running where for 2 miles, run for a period of time and walk for a period of time, run for a period of time. And I didn't feel any change whatsoever. It felt fine. Although I am on a steroid and I think that made me feel even a little bit better about my running than I normally would. That was actually nice. But yeah, it's good. It's good to get by it. I've talked to a lot of people who either have COVID or flu or all kinds of stuff's going around.
Yeah, I've got friends that's always constantly have a sinus infection or something, and you're kind of like, well, is it sinus or is it this? And you're just like, I don't want it. I was speaking with my mom. My sister's getting sick. My sister-in-law is supposed to be coming in town. My brother's supposed to be coming to town. And when every family comes in town, that usually means dinner at mom's house or at my sister's house. I think my house, comparative to the mom's and sister's houses, mine's like the college dorm. You don't do any type of events at my house, just because the nature of our family's big, and small houses. That's what I like about family coming to town. I get to go there to dinner, but now we might not have dinner, so I'm kind of upset.
Oh no, I hate to hear that. I bet a lot of families would think about that. Hey, before we go to Sonny, one more thing. We're recording this before the Saints game this Sunday, so we're fresh out of last week's game with Carolina, and we've I've been reading a lot online. You do the music in Superdome during the Saints game, so you must have played some great music for this last game. But Derek Carr had 41 yards of passing through most of the fourth quarter. Good Lord, man. If you go online right now and read the assessment of Derek Carr, it is not good right now.
When we have special elements built-in elements that are based on the offense, and I hear in headsets the relatively non-existent offense, it's very difficult to get some of those elements in. And so we're lucky for, one or two long plays over the top or something like that. We're like, there's our pass.
Yeah. Oh, we were so spoiled by Drew Brees, man. We're so spoiled by Drew Brees. And maybe the Saints will get it together. I still have hope, We shall see.
We'll see.
Another big move coming up is, and we'll know what the result of this is, Nick Mullins, who was an award winner and record breaker at University of Southern Mississippi, starting from Minnesota Vikings. So I'm excited about that. We know his family, his wife and my son have the same godmother, so we have that family connection. It's great to see Nick doing well. Okay, hey, thanks for all you do, my friend.
You bet.
Let's go over to my friend Captain Sonny Schindler. Sonny, man, it's been a great year for you, hasn't it?
It is, man. We're wrapping up year 20 for Sure Thing, and I kind of, a sports reference. It's kind of like we're almost through with it. We've never really said much about it. It's kind of like talking to your pitcher during a no-hitter. You just let it happen. Maybe we'll celebrate it in January. But 20 years, man.
Wow, that's incredible, though. You look back. You've met a lot of amazing people during that time. Listen, the fishing, even with the rain that we had recently, I would have thought that, we'd had this huge inflection of fresh water into the backwaters of the bays and whatever. And we had a little bit of that. But what I'm thinking is a lot of that rain water, because the rivers were so low, up in the what am I trying to say? The drainage basin. It didn't come flowing down as violently as I thought it was going to, and we're still catching some speckled trout. That's good news.
I went whenever the last big one we had. I went, the very very next day after the rain stopped, and I remember putting my trailer in at Bayou Caddy, which is a stone's throw from the Pearl River, from the state line, and just dreading, because when I launch, I go through and do the same thing every time, and I always look down at my trailer. If you can see your trailer, at dark 30, it's always going to be a good day, or it seems to be. And I can read everything on that Sport Trail trailer a couple hours after that big one we just had, and we went and smoked the fish. So I'm not a fan of rain, but it didn't mess us up too bad. So we're just going to let it do what it does.
And so, so for most fishermen, you got very clearly what Sonny was saying about being able to see the wheels of his trailer once he's launching his boat. But essentially is saying that if you can't, it'd be muddy. The muddy water means the muddy water's coming in. Especially speckled trout are incredibly sensitive to muddy water. They like clear water. They like high salinity. And if you have both of those and you have water, in other words, when we have these north winds, it blows all the water out and it really kind of changes where you can go fishing. You're probably going to have speckled trout, aren't you?
Yeah. And look, I mean, I haven't fished last day or so, but normally I'm switching to redfish this time of year, but I go give those trout, half an hour every morning just to see, because everybody loves them. And man, those redfish have had a good break because the trout
they have
good. Oh,
they have. Hey, when we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Captain Sonny Schindler from Sure Thing Charters. We'll see you after this. Welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show. I have my friend Captain Sonny Schindler with Sure Thing Charters. We went to a break. We were just kind of talking about the fishing situation in coastal Mississippi and whether the rains really impacted fishing or not. Sonny, I had a friend of mine ask if I was going to be available last Saturday because the possibility that there was going to be a celebrity in town and they needed a quick break, and there was a chance that my son Jordan and I would be taking them fishing for an hour or two just to kind of take a quick break. And we knew ahead of time, a week out, that this might happen. And as it turns out, the weather forecast for Saturday was not going to be good. It turned out to be fine.
Oh, yeah.
But originally it was supposed to be a rain out. So they got a little antsy about it. We didn't do the trip. But right after the rain, with that trip Saturday, that possible trip Saturday in mind, Jordan immediately went out and said, let me go see the situation. And he caught a 16-inch speckled trout. And almost immediately you realize, well, if that's still here, because what happens is that fresh water comes in, and those speckled trout are going to move as far away as they possibly can. Of course, deep holes, as you know, the salinity will stay deep, fresh water on top. There's still a chance, but see, this time of year when you do a lot of flat fishing, those scenarios don't play out very well. If you got fresh water, you're gonna have fresh water. And then the day or two before we went back out, hit some of our redfish holes, caught two really nice redfish. So the fish were there. We said, well, if he wants to go, the fish are here. It didn't turn out, but still we got a chance to kind of test the backwaters, and it was all pretty good. I think maybe that's one of the benefits of having a drought, that it's going to be very, it's just going to suck up the fresh water that does come, as long as you don't get too much of it. And that's what happened, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, and hopefully we can get in some kind of stable pattern. I always love the drought, but I get it. I know our farmers up north and down here, they need it. I just wish we could get somewhere in the middle, but man, it's been fabulous. I didn't tell you this during the break. Not far from Bayou Caddy, there's some wonderful fishing. I know we spend a lot of time in Louisiana, but it would have been close to that Saturday you're talking about. Went out with a crew. I don't think they were from the area, so they were up for whatever. They needed some stuff to take home to eat. And, I'm big into, I really like tagging fish. We tagged in one day. It was either 41 or 42 redfish.
Really?
And they were all undersized. They were, between, 13-ish to 17-inch. But one thing we learned with doing those tags is they don't go far from that juvenile to that mid-level slot size, that mid 20-inch-ish, 22, 24-inch range. So when you find those, I call them nests, and it's a school, but those big nests of those throwbacks, that's super encouraging to me, because in the next year and a half or so, that area is just going to hold, unless we have some cataclysmic flood, which is possible. Yeah. But it's super encouraging to have that and know that in the coming months, years, that they, and look, time and time again, when those things get recaptured, it's almost always within sight of where you tagged them.
Isn't that amazing? Unlike a cobia or lemon fish that can
no.
be on the Atlantic coast, that's called
right.
the Gulf. It's amazing. Gosh, eventually the Bonnie Carey is going to be opened again, and we'll have to deal with that, sadly, because there really is no solution that's less than $1 trillion,
Right.
unfortunately. But it is amazing how resilient it is, though. In spite of all the challenges we've had, you give it a couple of years, it has a way of just kind of recovering. It is incredibly resilient.
Are y'all see? You're on the other side of the state, but man, like the structure, the barnacles and the mussels and the oysters, the grass, that we've had a good break, but man, that stuff, it's bittersweet because you're like, man, if we could just leave this alone. There's no telling, the possibilities are endless and they're all seemingly good for the future. But is your stuff growing good over there?
Yeah. It's feeling like salt water again.
Right.
Because we had a year. We had a year where salinity levels in Back Bay never really recovered. It was fresh the whole time. So we had fresh grass growing everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It was just odd. Just very odd. Now you can go out and the water's super clear and you can see redfish running along. You might even see a speckled trout from time to time, still see some crabs from time to time. But, that's one of the things. I had Captain Ronnie Daniels on the Outdoor Show this week, and he said the same thing you said, that the clear water at Cat Island, for example, was just, it was incredible. Yeah.
We're catching pompano. I caught a pompano. I got a picture of it. I may even send it to you. In the East Pearl River, like near the train bridge of the Pearl River. Pompano. We've caught more pompano in the last month than we probably have in the last 8 years. That's it right there.
Yeah.
That's the drawbridge behind her.
Yeah, that's incredible. It's a picture of a woman, a happy woman, holding a beautiful Florida pompano. That's really good eating, I might add.
Oh yeah, and all the nearshore reefs. Matt caught one off a pier and fishing an old abandoned pier in Waveland. It's so exciting. But if we could just figure out a way to keep it, maybe not like this, but close to this.
It's good anyway.
Right.
But if you could sustain this, there's some more pictures of speckled trout and another pompano. It's special. I think I may have mentioned to you, my grandson Brody and I caught a bull shark not far from my house in Back Bay. Mm-hmm. I would say 30-pound range, roughly. Gosh, what a great fight that was for him. But we've caught some small ones along the way, but that was kind of unusual. And of course, catching multiple pound ladyfish, we would catch small ones every now and then. And, seeing a tarpon every now and then, you used to never see that,
Yeah.
The fishery is incredibly resilient, and it's very dependent on the bait, man. You find the bait, you're going to find the fish. That's usually the case, isn't it?
Yeah, and the shrimp. Good gracious, the shrimp. They're at our dock. That we were fishing middle of the day. That last picture with all the trout. That's they got the new regs over there in Louisiana. That's the first, technically the first legal new Louisiana limit. And I would have had it several other times, but the other stuff's been great. The sheephead, the redfish, the puppy drum that. We ran out of, space on a couple of the trips. The sheephead are gargantuan. These are the ones we normally see in March, after they've been here and they're all rode up. But we've been catching those for a month, and I know they get a bum rap. I love me some sheephead, man. But what I was saying with the bait, we'd been on this oyster reef drifting it for 2 hours, and out of nowhere, just this big old, it was bigger than what we were fishing with. Big old jumbo shrimp just starts jumping across the reef, and it got smoked. The trout ripped it apart. But it's just, man, I'm trying not to get too comfortable because, I hope for the best, but plan for the worst. But man, it's been a fun year.
Well, it's kind of like farming. I talk about farming in the Mississippi Delta a lot, but farmers can have this year. They had if you're in the Mississippi Delta and you had irrigation, you had an incredible year. And as Andy Gibson pointed out to me on my show last week, if you didn't have irrigation, you burned up your crop, and so you didn't have a good year. But farming is like that. You have a great year, and then you have a couple of really bad years. And fishing's like that too. In the charter boat business, you're gonna have you're never gonna have a really terrible year because you have the ability. You're mobile. You have the ability to move to the fish. That's what makes you guys so unique, isn't it?
It is, and I've said it time and time again. We don't sell the limit or the box of fish. We sell the whole experience. So some of the best repeat customers have been on some of the worst trips I've ever by classifying it by pounds of fish, we'll say, have been on some of the worst hauls that we've ever had. But the experience. They'll get out there and we'll talk birding with them or see some wildlife and get enough to take to the blind tiger or to Shaggy's for lunch. So we sell the experience, man. We don't sell the pounds.
I know you do. Hey, when we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Captain Sonny Schindler. We'll find out the latest is going on at Cat Island. When the water's really low with the north wind, can you even get into the back bayous of that place? We'll talk a little bit about some of the nuances of Cat Island. We'll see you after this. Welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show from the Citizens Bank studio. I have my friend Captain Sonny Schindler with me today from Sure Thing Charters. Great friend. I don't know how many shows you and I have done together, both on this show and SuperTalk Outdoors, but it's a bunch, isn't it?
We're racking them up, man.
And what's interesting is I find this interesting about what I'm doing because we started the show doing the shows in the studio back in 2020, I guess it was. And then the pandemic came and we started doing those shows remotely. The goal was always to eventually do the shows remotely. But I wanted to learn about the technology and all of this. So pretty quickly we were doing the show remotely and have been doing them remotely since from the studio here at my house. And so many of the people that I talk to, I never actually see in person. And so I saw Sonny recently in Pascagoula Harbor. I think that's actually the first time that I've ever actually seen you in person.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So we've been together so many times. We've become good friends, but we've seen each other physically one time. That's fascinating.
You knocked out a bunch, man. Alex was there and Rimmer. You checked a bunch of boxes.
I did. I got really lucky that day. That's for sure. Hey, listen, So I got a note just before we started the show from my wife, Ann. I was mentioning before we started the show that we looked out over Back Bay this morning, and there was a small John boat, maybe 14 feet long, with 3 guys in it. And the clearance between the gunnel and the water was probably 2 inches. And I watched them motor away, and I said, "What is that?" Because she didn't at first. She didn't know what it was because it was moving at an angle. And you could see the 3 guys, and she's, "What is that?" And of course, then they kind of turned a little bit more sideways to us, and we could clearly see that it was a John boat with 3 guys in it. And I thought, wow, first of all, it's overloaded. Second of all, if it goes over, they're going to be in shallow water and mud. They're not going to be able to move anywhere. And the other thing is, when we're recording the show, it's cool outside. The water's really cold. So you've got a situation where someone could be overcome with hypothermia pretty quickly. But it wasn't long after I started a previous show that I get a note from Ann that they had to do a rescue over by Pops Ferry. She was wondering if it was the same boat. Turns out it was only 1 guy on the boat. But, whether it's cold or not, and you said this is a warm weather phenomena as much as it is a cold weather phenomena, people can get super lax about safety when they're in a boat, can't they?
Man, and one of the two things. It makes me cringe to hear pick your days, because if you're like, for that example, that would you say a little 14-foot John boat, and you hear people say, I've taken that to Chandelier, or I've taken it out to the rigs. just because you can doesn't mean you should. And the other saying, I know you like your sayings, is you never beat Mother Nature. She only lets you win.
Yeah.
And you hear these stories, and really probably what that is somebody that's never had that moment that, oh my, I'm not going to swear, but you know what I'm saying? That moment where
more than once,
where you don't know if you're going to go home at night and kiss your wife and children or family good night. I've had a few, and probably more than most. You don't forget them. You don't forget that feeling. You don't forget what it looked like. And those were the days she let you have a pass. But it's just simple math. There's only so many you can win at, where finally she just says, look, I've given you a dozen chances to not test me, and you're going to learn today.
Listen, my Everglades is 32 foot, overall, and
right.
We can go anywhere and do anything. But man, there are seas that you don't want to be in that boat in.
No.
And we were off of Chandelier once. Listen, we were 11.8 miles from Curlew, 11.8 miles from Curlew, and we got hit by a major thunderstorm, and we were making forward progress to Curlew for more than an hour with waves hitting at our ankles and the whole 9 yards. And we looked, and we started 11.8 miles. An hour later, we were, after running toward Curlew, we were 12.4 miles from Curlew.
Ugh.
We were going backwards.
Right.
And I mean, I literally said, gosh, I literally had the thought in my mind, God, please, I kind of want to have a wife and kids, and I got things I want to do in my life.
Right.
But you've had those experiences, haven't you?
Oh, look, and I've had them. If I were to get technical, I've probably had them every month of the year over the last, couple decades. And it's usually it's that sneaky storm, or you thought you had an extra 6 hours before the front came, or you read 3 or 4 weather reports, and one of them, it was like those hurricane models, and you took the path that we'll go with this crazy not European model, but you know what I'm saying.
Right.
You will it into picking your day, and usually it's almost always the human error. Occasionally, stuff falls out of a boat and stuff happens. But this time of year, I mean, you got to be checking in with people. I won't make the long runs.
The north winds that get you, man. North winds that get you in the bay.
It can overpower a tide. If you don't have a strong tide and a very strong north or on our side, a northwest wind, it'll grab that water and throw it out of that marsh quicker than anything. And if you're on the wrong side of it and you're out of cell service or don't have an EPIRB or a good VHF, man,
you're high and dry.
High and dry. I've been there. It's terrifying. It is. I'm laughing about it now, but it is.
My friend Terry and I slept on a leaning boat once at Chandelier. Ugh. We just didn't time that one properly, and we stepped out of the boat onto dry land.
The good and the bad thing, guy like you, I would be willing to bet you're hunting more than fishing this time of year.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of them. The last several trips, I know the last one, we didn't see a boat.
Yeah.
The few near shores, you see a few boats just because it's practical and easy and the fishing's good and close. But the few trips to the marsh, on days you'd see 20 or 30, I'm seeing 1 or 2 or none. And that's good and bad.
Yeah, it is. But let me tell you, man, the hypothermia is a very serious thing. I had back when I was the president of Mississippi Wildlife Federation, so it had been in the 90s. I had a friend and his friend and their dog. They went duck hunting on a really, really cold day, and it was flooded water, so the water was over the river, and somehow they submerged, and there was no way to, they found them both dead. They both succumbed to the cold water. man, you got to have backup plan and backup plan and backup plan.
And good equipment.
Yeah.
Your boat, yes, on a very consistent forecast, yes, I'm taking your boat to the rigs. My boat, no chance, no way, don't ask, not going to happen. No way.
Not going to happen. But, back, I remember, it was in the 70s, 80s, 5 guys on a bass boat went to Cat Island and died. People think they can do it, but they can't.
Yeah. They're off work. Their buddy hammered them the day before and just never think, because minutes, seconds, it can go from glass calm to something out of the Bible, biblical bad weather.
I can totally get that, man. We were tied to a rig once. We called it the lemon fish rig, southeast of Chandelier. Beautiful, slick day. I mean, it was slick. And man, this thunderstorm came, and we tied up to the rig, and we got up in the rig. We actually climbed up in the top of the rig.
Oh, I would.
In the control room. And it was so cold up there. I mean, we were shivering. It was July 4th, man. We were shivering. Terry and me. I mean, we said the boat's gone. I mean, there's no doubt the boat's gone, but we're going to live through it. And we're trying to figure out, okay, what can we mess up on this rig that will cause people to want to come here to get us? And, long story short, boat made it. We climbed back down. It got slick again. And right after that, I caught a 72-pound lemon fish.
I knew you were going to say you went back fishing. You had to test her.
But isn't it something, man? I mean, it went from literally all hell broke loose, and then suddenly it was slick again. But that's the way it is in the summer. And you live on those margins in your business, don't you?
You do, but the cool thing is we got 10 guys that work for us. This time of year, we got plenty of them in the woods, looking at their phones, watching weather. Man, it's nice to get that text. I mean, I hate leaving my phone out on a fishing trip, but getting that text going, hey, one's coming through the lake, or this front's moving quicker. And so they're my angels, man. They look after us.
Advanced reports.
Yeah.
Hey, so when we come back, we'll finish the final segment. We'll look ahead. What is Sonny, what's he looking forward to next year? When does fishing really get good as things start to heat up in 2024? We'll see you after this break with my friend, Captain Sonny Schindler from Sure Thing Charters. We'll see you after this. Welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show. I have my friend, Captain Sonny Schindler, with us today from Sure Thing Charters. And Sonny, I'm holding in my hand a special rod and reel. You can see it's a fly rod, and it's a Reed Geist edition.
Oh, I know Mr. Reed.
Oh man, he's what a guy. He loves life, man.
Yeah,
so much fun.
That's one of his?
Well, it's one that used to be his. He gave it to me as a gift many years ago, and it has literally on here. It has Reed Geist, FFF instructor.
Nice.
And it's a 9.5 foot, 5 ounce rod with, set up for, it's got a clouser on it. It's a worn out clouser, incidentally. It's set up for fly fishing. And
if that thing could talk.
Looking at another one over here, and I got this, when I got to the Delta, this kind of popped out. This is a little fly that popped out, a little weedless fly that Reed made somewhere along the way.
Yeah.
But people don't think about saltwater and places like Cat Island or triple tail fishing. There's some awesome fly fishing off our coast, isn't there?
Yeah, no, I don't know if I included it on the pictures I sent y'all, but we caught the group was, but we got on a how when you get on a good bite and you can't do anything wrong. Where, if you leave a hook in the water and go get a sandwich or something, there might be a fish come up and just grab your hook off the side of the boat. We got on one of those bites with this guy, and this story has 2 parts. It's a bit of, I'll condense it, but the first time we booked a quote unquote fly fishing trip, he got on the boat. We're idling out the harbor. He's looking around the boat. I could kind of tell he had a question. I was like, man, you okay? He says, where do you keep your fly stuff? And I said, man, you could put it in that locker there or that there. And he goes, well, is it in there? And I said,
he didn't bring anything.
He didn't bring it. It's on me because I didn't, communication. I didn't say, we don't do enough of it to justify spending. That stuff's crazy expensive for the good stuff. So anyway, I was super embarrassed. I said, we can turn around. He goes, no, man, it's a beautiful day. We went out and it was perfect. Bluebird, perfect water, perfect tide, fish, redfish rolling everywhere. We knocked out his limit of trout. This was years ago. So we got his 25. We were in Louisiana. Redfish everywhere. They were just dumb and hungry. And, the joke is it's the worst fly fishing trip ever. And we came in with, just tons of fish, tons of pictures. So a week or two ago, he came again with his dad. And we got on one of those bites where it was just trout, redfish, sheephead, puppy drum in one spot, one little bowl. It was cold that day. They were in one little deep bowl. And he had brought it just kind of as a joke. And he said, man, you mind? Please do. If anybody deserves this, you do. So first cast, he had a purple, kind of that, LSU, purple and gold Clouser. First cast, first strip, bam, legal trout. It wasn't a huge, 13 and a half, 14-inch trout. He's like, man, I don't know if I've ever caught a trout on a fly rod. He always goes after reds. And he wound up catching 3 or 4 more and gave me a little ration about the worst fly fishing trip ever. But no, those fly fishermen, man, they're easy to please when you can. It helps to bring fly fishing gear
because it's experience. There's a wonderful book written by a guy named Middleton called On the Spine of Time that actually Reed turned me onto it, and he describes the process of fly fishing in the North Carolina mountains on streams, and the actual catching is just sort of an exclamation point on the end of a wonderful story of being one with nature, and that's what fly fishermen are. I mean, they just they take it in. They appreciate more of the surroundings than your typical rod and reel fisherman. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, in the martial arts world, I think they are the highest degree black belt. Top water baits are probably the conventional, and then you start all over and get to that ninja Shaolin monk status with the fly. But if you can master that, it's poetic.
Reed got the Albacore Jack fly fishing record in the boat with me, and then
nice.
My son Jordan had the Bonita fly fishing record for a period of time, and Reed was with us when we got that one. And then along the way, Jordan actually still holds the hardhead catfish fly fishing record. He laughs at that one. But I've enjoyed some good times with Reed, man. I mean, the guy who has this incredible ability to just love every experience with incredible exuberance. Hey, listen, as you guys think about, this situation, it goes into January and February, and then it starts to get warm. There's a lot of good fishing to look forward to. We're actually at the end, but you got. I would wish you all the luck in the world as you go forward.
Yeah, man. Thank you. I mean, appreciate everything you've done for us, and hopefully I get another 20 years out of Shore Thing. It's been really, really good to a lot of people.
Well, you're an inspiration to a lot of us, and thanks for coming on and joining us. Have a great New Year, my friend.
Thank you very much.
You bet. This has been Captain Sonny Schindler. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.